shirt, right? Go figure. So, we're here today to test the Alesis Strike 8 amp. So it's got an 8-inch speaker. It's rated at 2,000 watts with a maximum dB of 129. Now this is going to vary, of course, from kit to kit, depending on how much preamp output you actually do have available to you. I'm running the Yamaha DTX Multi-12 unit, which can actually replace an entire full kit, okay, without any problems, because I can add even more parts on if I want. Anyways, so for a lot of people, you're curious, you know, like in a venue like your church, etc., you know, can this amp be suitable on any electronic kit? Now, I chose to use my kit just because it's less hassle for me to pack this in my car, bring it over, whereas our Alesis kit that we do have is like huge, and yeah, I don't even have the room to set it up on here properly. So, anyways, I've done some testing at home, and I really do like this amp. It's very portable, which I wanted. It's not very intrusive on space. You know, it doesn't take up a big footprint, and you can stand it upright, you can lay it down, you can wedge it, because it's got different, you know, angles to it. But I wanted to do some testing to see about manufacturer specifications, and is this thing still going to stay really clean, even at excessively loud volumes. So we've done some pre-testing. The amp is still at full blast, okay? Now, you control everything to the amp from your drum kit or your percussion pad, like this is a percussion sequencer slash full drum kit. And so our testing came up actually pretty cool here. I just got to get back into my wife's phone here. Our average decibel at full blast on the kit, so full out on the kit, full out down there, was 108.3 dB out of 129 it's rated for. Our maximum peaking is at 116 average max peak, so 116 dB max. It's not enough to blow your hearing, sorry. We'll have to keep trying, I guess. But that is still on the max level, very close to manufacturer specs as far as the dB that it can actually produce. Alright, and that's literally full out on this kit. Now, I do know that with some Alesis machines, because a lot of you out there will have an Alesis set of some sort, I've had the sample pad 4. I did find that its pre-out output in it was not the world's greatest. Okay, where the sample pad 8 Pro was much more. It did a really good job, so it's, you know, a lot better, obviously. The Yamaha is even better than the Alesis. Now with drum kits, of course, the DM10 does have a lot of output through its module compared to even the Nitro Mesh kit that I used to own. Okay, so you're going to see variances there. The other thing we want to know is about what's it take to get a really good loud but clean sound. Now I will say this, at full blast on the amp and going full blast here, you got to watch your toms because things are going to go let loose on you. And we're going to test that so you can hear what kind of breakup happens. Then we're going to reduce the amp to the point where it cannot peak clip. Okay? And that's having our module at full, and then my wife is going to come over and keep turning down the knob slowly until we don't get a peak light hit at all. And that's going to give us our maximum sound level without peaking and too much breakup. Okay, so let's start this party. Now, I was going to do this in 4 stage levels of volume, but I figured, well, you know what, let's do it anyway. Okay, so we're going to start out at 9. So we're going to go 9, 12, 3, and full tilt. So this is 9 o'clock, and remember, the amp itself is set for full volume, okay? so 12 o'clock now. This is going to get a little nasty, kids. The wind that is hitting my leg is ridiculous. Exercise more, get some energy going. Alright, so 3 o'clock on the dial now. Some of that fresh, brand new smell of the air of the whole system at me. Brand new speakers. Anyways, good thing it's warranted. So this is now top end, full out, everything! That sounds bad. The kit sounds great! Alright honey, I need you to come up here and adjust the volume. I'm going to keep the kit at full, and she's going to keep adjusting the volume slow on the back of the amp until that peak light either barely lights at all or doesn't. And that's where you got to stop. Okay? Ready? Okay. Alright, now lay that back so I can redirect the sound a bit.
Wow. That's sitting at 3.
Can we get any extra? That's at 3. So that would be 10 o'clock for you kids. Okay, there's just a little flash. That's good. That's right there. So
that's 5.
So that's 5. So that's about 12 o'clock is going to be our max. And that's what. So the amp's at 5 or 12 o'clock, and the kit is full blast. So let's see where we're at for sound level. Yeah, dB check. Let's see what kind of dB we're going to get. So hold it up to the amp, please. That still stays really clean. average of 107.9. And we have a max of 116.3. So go hold that in front of the camera for them so they can see what I'm talking about. So, you're going to have to let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of all that serious fun. I am still learning to play drums, so get off my nose on that one. Alright, I'm still learning, I am getting better. But, this is the max testing. It doesn't get any better than this. Now, if we turn this down to half now, or 12 o'clock on the Yamaha, to where the amp is at, which is 12. That, to me, playing on stage is not really loud enough. So if we take this to 1 o'clock. That would be pretty acceptable. It'll keep stage noise down. Acoustic kits are extremely loud and obnoxious, as we know, but you know, they are controllable with drum shields and all that. But with an electronic kit, you have a lot more control over things, like a lot. Plus your sound tech can really control you when you're plugged into the main system so that the audience doesn't go mentally deaf. Especially if you're in church, you don't want to overdrive stuff too much, right? But as far as this goes, I mean, you could go be gigging at bars, no problem. The church this size, we can hold just over 200 people in here in our sanctuary, so it's quite large in size. So we're looking at about, roughly 50, 60 feet from the back wall to there. And then we're a little over 60 feet at the widest point. Okay, so pretty big and pretty tall ceilings. So this thing can really get out there. Okay, so in bars, at most of your churches, if you're playing on a worship team and you're going to use this even as a replacement kit or just even as a percussion kit, it's going to be more than adequate with this amp. But any of your kits would be more than adequate with this amp, I think, without too much difficulty. Now, as far as what Alesis says for 2,000 watts, is that true or false? I'm going to call false on it. There's not no 2,000 watts. Come on. I grew up having stereo systems putting out 1,500 watts per channel, okay? But even going off one side of that and cranking her up, yeah, you would not be in the same room and you would not have your hearing intact, okay? Especially at the dB levels, even being in the equal area, okay? So, you know, this is 2,000 watts. The dBs are very close on the peak side to manufacturer specs, but I don't believe that it's a true 2,000 watts. In fact, it isn't 2,000 watts true. It's 2,000 watts peak, they say. Okay, so the write-up is kind of a little bit, I would say more or less, not misleading, but it's kind of like a half-truth, because you're looking at, between the woofer and the tweeter, you're combining power. So for continuous running power is about 1,000 watts, okay? But 2,000 watts on the peak side. But you need the decibels to punch that through. And 116 dB to 129, those small amount of points are a massive amount of volume difference, okay? So I would probably say this is not actually running a true even 1,000 watts, probably closer to about grand total combined between the woofer and the tweeter. I would probably give it somewhere around maybe 550-ish, 560-ish, given the dB. Okay, that it's not producing the full dB as per manufacturer specs. But then again, this is a two-way battle because you got to look at what is the preamp output of the unit here, okay? That is another thing to kind of judge by. So, judging by my unit, even at full blast, my Yamaha, to this amp, those are the numbers we got. Now, will these numbers get truer to the 129 dB and truer to the 2000 watt peak and 1000 watt continuous? I would think it should if you have more output given to the system, okay? One more test I want to conclude on this, and we're going to do a dB test, is I'm going to go through the headphone out, because the headphone out, remember, it's an amplified section. It's not a preamp section, because your headphones don't have amps in them. But your headphone jack system in your unit has power going to it. Even though it's a very small, minuscule amp, maybe a ½ a watt total, it's going to probably have more output than the main stage of our outputs from our preamp section. So let's do that as one more test, and we'll do a dB test live while we're at it and see what the difference are. Now, I'm not going to change the volume on the back of the amp for this, but I am going to shut it off so I can swap my connections around. Otherwise, we could have a problem. Okay, so headphone jack, and it is full blast. You got your dB ready? Ooh, that's loud already. Okay, let's start this at half. Are you ready? Okay, now, you guys noticed I hit my controller here. It's like, it doesn't do nothing. I kind of blank spotted that one for a second. So, hey, good blooper built into the video for you. All right, what do we got? Well, that's not bad. I think we did better on the preamp out section. So the headphone out section is not as powerful. We're looking at 101.1 average dB with 113.2 max. So that's not bad coming straight out of the headphone jack. Okay, now, one last test, kids. Turn that amp full blast on that knob. It's the one that she plugged into, you know that. Yeah, alright. Ooh, I can hear static noise! Okay, start the recording. Let me know when it's time to kick some butt.
Okay.
That did not sound healthy.
That wasn't healthy.
Woohoo! Check it out, kids. We got 109.1 average with a 119.6 peak. That's good. Go in the other room. So, guys, that is flipping amazing differences there. Like, that's really good. We're really kicking some butt. But, I will say this. The distortion level of that is horrible. I really don't like how it sounds. So, we're going to go back to the halfway mark again. And turn that off. Go back into here, where we belong. And turn it back on, and we'll start at halfway here. That's pretty good. I almost lost a stick. All right. All right, so guys, it's a really good amp. No question about that. It is a good amp. It can be really clean, but you do have to watch a few things like, you know, going through the headphone jack, not probably a good idea, okay? At least not directing the amp. But You can also go stereo out with an adapter and go to both inputs. You're not really gaining anything, by the way, even though you do have 2 inputs on the amp. So we did do some testing on that as well. It doesn't matter if you're in channel 1 or channel 2 on the amp. It's the exact same levels, same dB ratings, etc. Okay? The preamp output of your unit is going to dictate a lot to an amplifier of any sort, whether it's a Alesis Strike 8 or the 12, or whether you're using a Roland drum amp, okay? Your preamp section is very important. That the higher the output coming out of your preamp section, whether you're running mono or stereo, is going to make a difference on does this thing perform to manufacturer specs or not, okay? And it doesn't matter what amp it is. So I would say we're really close to manufacturer specs, especially on the peak side of things, where it's peaking at for dBs. We are very close. And that to me is pretty much good enough in my books. And besides, we're talking $300 is what I paid for this amp. That is a really good quality amp. It takes a really good beating. Personally, in my opinion, it sounds better. It is louder to me as well than any of the other drum amps I've tested, even from Roland, up to their 100 watt range anyways. And the 100 watts kind of really sucked. And even at their dB level, I doubt they were actually producing anywhere close to what we're getting out of this thing, because they just weren't that loud, right? They can appear loud in a store or a big building to a certain point, but you got to really drive them. That's the problem. This thing, you don't have to really super drive it. You know, like even at half blast here, like for a size of building this size for church and playing along with the team properly, that's even a good level. Even if you snuck it up to 1 o'clock, it's a great stage monitor, you know, and that's what you want, is a stage monitor, right? And you need to be in the mix balanced either way. But I would say, as my final thoughts and review on this amp, I would say that it would definitely, I would put this thing at the top end of, yeah, I think it's about a 4.5 out of 5. The quality stays really good, but once you start getting really up there, it does suffer. So you need to be able to balance your output of your unit to the speaker. Now, I would probably recommend no more than 2 o'clock on the dial on the amp, which would be like 7 out of 10, right? Pretty much all amplifiers I've ever tested, whether it's home stereo equipment or this kind of stuff or guitar amps, they start to clip and distort at around 7, or that is equivalent to what? 2 o'clock on the dial kind of thing, right? That's where they're clipping at and starting to sound very bad. But for an 8-inch speaker too, I mean, even getting that clean of a sound that we are getting, like even here, where am I sitting? Okay, well here's 2 o'clock. Here's 2 o'clock on the dial. That's still really super clean, you know. And we can push it a little bit harder if we wanted to, and still stay relatively clean. Now, depending on the toms and the tuning of the toms will determine cleanliness as well, so keep that in mind. I have not tuned any of my sounds. I've left them at factory defaults of whatever they are, because I wanted something as close as possible to an acoustic kit for sound reproduction. But I think overall it is great. It is a pretty good amp. I would definitely recommend it for sure. It's great in churches. It's going to be great in bars. As far as going on stage like you're a pro touring musician, forget it. This little puppy, this is not going to help you, okay? This is great for the smaller venues and for your bedroom at home, of course. It is awesome for that, and it's great for in the studio as well. So you'll have your best uses in that sense. So churches, most bars that are, you know, not massively huge, okay, and a lot of your churches, definitely for sure. This thing's going to do a great job, and it's going to get out there. But just remember to tune your toms so that they can also sound good and still go to the higher levels if you need the higher levels, without distorting or breaking up too much. And besides, you're talking as a stage monitor use. That's a lot different than trying to get out to the main crowd. Your main crowd is going to be your main PA system. You just need to worry about stage. So for most of your stage uses, yes, this thing is going to be fantastic and do the job. It's lightweight, small, portable. You got the idea. Thanks for watching. I know it was a long video, but we really had to push this thing to the limits too, to see if we blow it up. because it is warranted after all, and if it does blow up, they have to replace it. Because in my world, if they rate it, it should hopefully get to that at least, okay, or as close as possible. They never do get right on that scale, but close. But it should be able to handle it. And this thing has handled it, even with the throbbing, distorted sounding of the toms and stuff at fuller volumes. The thing did not, I don't see smoke or fire. It's still sounding fantastic. So it definitely has passed my quality control test as far as that goes, and still staying in one piece. So that's actually pretty good. Anyways, guys, I gotta go home now and go set all this stuff back up in my house. And you guys have fun. Animal is gonna go. Okay, see ya.